about to see something. You about to see something. It's coming, it's coming. We're unstoppable now.
Sign up for 2 months free GigaHome 5G Wi-Fi, and now also sign up for our new unlimited 5G plans.
Ever since I've been little, I've always wanted to do something for the community. Obviously, we have the zakat, the sadaqah, but that's all regarding distributing money. But we're not in touch with the people in need, and this is what I would like to do, something more personal with the people in need for the community. And my idea of service to the community when I was little was being a doctor. But as I grew up, I understood that being a doctor was not something that I was capable of. And Alhamdulillah, Wahab has been that inner calling for me, where we are not just able to redistribute surplus food, we are not able to just distribute food to people, but rather being in contact with them, sharing their moments of joy and grief. It's more about having a personal connection with them, Alhamdulillah, through Wahab. So I grew up in the Middle East, so I've always seen food wastage, and the guilt built up until there's a point where you can't take it anymore. So I remember one night I was really frustrated, and I was asking my husband, there's so much of surplus food that's being thrown into the bin, why can't this be redistributed to people who would like to have a free meal? I was really frustrated, why isn't anyone doing something about it? And my husband said, why don't you start something? And this is how Wahab started. So we wanted to know how such a concept would be welcome in Qatar, because obviously the culture is different. We wanted to know. And we soft launched during Qatar International Food Festival 2017. So all we did is we understood that because it's a food festival, people would not be knowing in advance how many people would come. So we understood that there would be surplus food there, and we'd have a large different variety of food. And also because more people are there as volunteers. So we started out first night, we asked the participating outlets, would you share your surplus food with us instead of throwing it away? And they asked us, why didn't you come earlier to us? So their reception was very positive. And the first night we started with 1 volunteer, the second day we had 3 volunteers, and then Alhamdulillah, by the end of the festival, 5-day festival, we were able to redistribute more than 3,000 meals, Alhamdulillah. And now our group has grown into around 200 volunteers, Alhamdulillah. And we are able to redistribute around 200,000 meals, Alhamdulillah. Regarding challenges, one of them is that we understood that Wahab needs to be run, any company in fact has to be run as a business if it needs to be self-sustainable, because at the moment it is self-funded by us, the team, the Wahab team, which is comprised of 3 members. But we understood that if we need to make Wahab go forward, we need to venture into more areas. We understood that it needs to be run more of a business rather than taking money just out of the pocket. So this is one of our challenges. And the second one is that we've had some changes within the team. So our team was 5 members before, and now it's just 3 members. So we had differences of opinion, we had differences, but Alhamdulillah, we've been able to face our challenges, we are able to move forward. And I think this is one thing that's very common with every entrepreneurship company, because we do face challenges, but it's about the passion that you hold within to keep moving forward. So basically challenges will be there, any obstacles will be there, but it's about your dream, how to achieve your dream to the next level. Basically, it's the volunteers' motivation. It's like when we take one step, the volunteers, they take 20 steps ahead, because you see their enthusiasm to help. Like you said, there are no monetary benefits from these things, but it's the personal satisfaction you have when you help people in need. And when volunteers are so interested, they come back and tell us that they feel more fulfilled, self-fulfilled. It makes us really happy that we have this organization in which they can reach out to people. So it closes the gaps in the community. And when people say that it affects them, it has changed their lives for the better, alhamdulillah, that's a huge catalyst to move forward. And secondly, these kind of things, they make it more addictive. So the first time you see people having smiles on their faces, second time you're more interested to do something. It's so much worth the energy, the time, the effort, the money. All of this are huge catalysts to move forward, alhamdulillah. The Qatari community has been a huge help during our journey. Obviously, we have a Qatari partner, but we also have Qatari volunteers. So we have food drives, and they've been largely contributing for that. Some of the volunteers, they come as families with their children to pack meals. So they've been really positive of this organization, alhamdulillah. Our main objective is for two things: to help reduce food wastage, as well as get in touch with the community, close our community gaps. And regarding raising awareness regarding food wastage, we go into schools where we target the younger generation, because obviously they are the torchbearers of the future. If we go into schools, we tell them that we shouldn't be wasting surplus food. You can obviously give it to a food bank, and also to reduce the portion sizes, how the journey of food is. So we teach them farm to fork. So basically, children have an awareness that food is a blessing and it shouldn't be wasted. It can be shared with others, but it shouldn't be wasted. So because it's much better to target younger children, because as we grow old, like they say, old habits die hard. So once you start throwing away food, it becomes more of a habit. So children are much better. So we do raise awareness in such ways, but because of our campaigns, people understand that they have an option rather than throwing it into the bin. So we get calls from parties, they say they have surplus food left over, can you come collect it? So alhamdulillah, that awareness that food is a blessing and it needs to be shared with others is there, much more than it was there before. And people know that by sharing food, it can not just satisfy somebody's hunger or somebody's stomach, but it's more about satisfying that need for care, because people feel acknowledged when you give them something. They feel valued, and that's what we are trying to do here. As I mentioned before, any company needs to be run as a business to make it self-sustainable. And we're talking about surplus food, about leftover food, but what about inedible food that cannot be reused? And we wanted to complete our cycle. And regarding inedible food, we understood that if this food can be recycled into compost, something that, especially with Qatar wanting to be self-sustainable in food, as well as trying to reduce its carbon footprint, because at the moment, half of Qatar's municipal garbage is comprised of food waste, and this increases carbon footprint. So if we could reduce the carbon footprint by throwing less food into the landfills, and we could put it into good use and make it into nutrient-rich soil, into compost, that's a huge step for Qatar in sustainability. So we are offering composting solutions to clients. So it ranges, it's a huge variety. So we have composting solutions for small homes, for compounds, as well as large units, and food that can be composted within as soon as 24 hours. So it's not smelly, it doesn't require much work. It's completely about dumping it into a machine and getting good soil that you could use for your plants. Sometimes we have passions inside us that inner calling, but we are afraid to pursue it because we think, what if we fail? But we never know whether we would fail or succeed unless we try. That night, I had no idea how to start Wahab. I didn't know how I would redistribute the surplus food, how I would reduce food wastage, But Alhamdulillah, when you have a will, they say that there is a way as well. So follow your passion. Obviously, there will be obstacles in your journey, but it's about how to achieve your dream. And I would say don't run behind success, because it's not about success, it's more about the work that you do to help others, to affect people. And this keeps you going, and this is what drives your company.